Eth remembered the day she first saw Cole. He was sitting alone in the food court of the orbital station, reading a book made of real paper. His fingers turned the pages so carefully, like he was afraid to hurt them. She had never seen anyone treat a simple object with such tenderness. That was 3 cycles ago. Now he was her husband. The people were known for many things. Their skin glowed with soft blue light when they felt strong emotions. Their bones were hollow and light. They could sense the feelings of others like a whisper in their minds. But they were not known for marrying humans. Her mother had warned her. Her father had begged her to think again. Her sisters had shown her old videos from Earth's history. Wars, hunting, violence. They are predators, her mother had said, her skin flickering with worry. They evolved to kill. They chased animals until the animals died from exhaustion. They conquered their entire planet. Lyra, please choose someone safe. But Lyra had looked at and seen none of that. She saw a man who ran a small repair shop on the station. A man who fixed broken machines and charged less than he should. A man who kept a garden of earth plants in their small home and talked to the flowers like they were old friends. She saw a man who cried when stories were sad and laughed when children played. Today, Lyra walked through the market district toward his shop. The station was called Harmony's Cradle, and it floated in the space between 3 major trade routes. Dozens of species lived here together. Tall warriors with their green scales and sharp teeth. Small traders with their 6 arms and quick eyes. Silent monks who communicated only through light patterns on their skin. And humans, not many, but enough. They had a reputation in the Galactic Concord as artists and diplomats. Soft creatures who had somehow survived their violent past and become peaceful. Lyra found exactly where she expected. He was kneeling on the floor of his shop, surrounded by 5 younglings. The children were barely as tall as his knee, their scales still bright with youth. In his hands held a piece of colored paper. "You fold here," he said, his voice soft and patient. "Then here, see, like this." The paper became a bird. The younglings made sounds of amazement. One of them tried to copy him, and his paper became a crumpled mess. The child's eyes filled with frustration. Just smiled. "That's okay. It took me 100 tries to learn. Here, let me show you again." Lyra leaned against the door frame and watched. Her skin glowed gently with warmth. This was the man her family feared, this patient teacher who gave free origami lessons to children. One of the younglings noticed her and pointed. "Is that your mate?" Looked up and his whole face changed when he saw her. His eyes became soft. His smile grew wider. Lyra had learned that humans showed love most clearly in their eyes, and eyes always told her everything. "Yes," he said, "that's my wife. Isn't she beautiful?" The younglings made disgusted sounds, the way all children do when adults talk about love. They grabbed their paper birds and ran past Lyra, shouting thanks over their shoulders. Stood up slowly. He was tall for a human, with dark hair that was starting to show gray at the edges. His hands were rough from work, but they were always gentle when they touched her. "How was your day?" he asked, pulling her into a hug. "Better now," she said. They walked home together through the station's corridors, carried a bag of vegetables he had bought for dinner. He was planning to make something called pasta, which Lyra had learned to love even though did not usually eat Earth food. Their home was small but warm. Plants covered every surface, had built shelves near the windows where sunlight came through, and green things grew in every direction. He said it reminded him of Earth. He said the plants helped him feel calm. Lyra watched him cook. He moved around the kitchen with ease, chopping vegetables and stirring pots. He hummed a song she did not know. Sometimes he would taste something and make a face, then add more spices. She said, "Do you ever miss being on Earth?" He thought about this while he stirred. "Sometimes I miss the rain, I miss the sound of birds in the morning, but I found something better out here." "What?" He looked at her and smiled. "You." Her skin glowed bright blue. Even after 3 cycles, he could still make her feel like this. Later, they ate together at their small table, told her about his day. A merchant had brought him a broken translator device, and he had spent 4 hours fixing it. The merchant had tried to pay him double, but had refused. "It was a simple fix," he said. "I couldn't take extra money for simple work." This was who was. He once found a spider in their bathroom and spent 20 minutes carefully catching it and carrying it outside. He apologized to chairs when he bumped into them. He sent money to a charity that helped orphaned children on 3 different planets. Lyra's mother was wrong. There was no predator here, there was only kindness. After dinner, they sat together on their small couch, read his paper book while Lyra leaned against his shoulder. The station hummed quietly around them. Through the window, stars burned in the endless black. "I love you," she said. He kissed the top of her head. "I love you too, always." Lyra closed her eyes and felt completely safe. She did not notice the news alert that flashed on their wall screen. She did not see the announcement that a trade delegation had arrived at the station. She did not know that their leader, Commander, had already seen her walking through the market that morning. And she did not know that had smiled when he saw her glowing skin and thought about how much money it would bring in the slave markets of the Outer Rim. The wolves had come to Harmony's cradle. But Lyra did not know. She only knew that she was home with her gentle husband, surrounded by growing things and love. For now, that was enough. The first time Lyra saw Commander, she felt cold. It started deep in her chest and spread outward until her skin dimmed to almost nothing. They were tall and thin, with gray skin stretched tight over sharp bones. They had 4 arms and eyes that never seemed to blink. Their mouths were filled with needle-like teeth, but it was not his appearance that frightened her. It was the way he looked at her, like she was something to be bought and sold. He found her in the market 3 days after his ship arrived. She was buying fruit examining the purple spheres that he liked to eat for breakfast. When she looked up, was standing in front of her. He said, his voice was like metal scraping against stone. "I have not seen one of your kind in many years. Your people have become so rare." Lyra took a step back. "Excuse me, I need to go." "Of course." He moved aside, but his eyes followed her. "I am sure we will meet again. The station is not very big." She walked away quickly. Her heart was beating fast. She told herself she was being foolish. There were traders, nothing more. They had every right to be on the station. But the cold feeling did not go away. Over the next 2 weeks appeared everywhere. He was in the food court when she ate lunch. He was in the corridor outside's shop. He was at the viewing deck where she liked to watch the stars. Each time he said something, small things, comments that seemed innocent but felt wrong. "What a lovely glow you have today. Your husband must make you very happy. Skin is so valuable. Artists pay fortunes for even small pieces. Did you know that? I wonder if your human knows how lucky he is. Humans are so weak, they could not protect something so precious." Lyra stopped going out alone. She stayed in the shop with or waited in their home, but even there she was not safe. Gifts began arriving at their door, rare crystals from distant planets, bottles of expensive wine, a note that said only, "Beautiful things deserve beautiful owners." Noticed her fear. Of course he noticed. After 3 cycles, he knew her better than anyone. "Lyra, what's wrong?" he asked one evening. "You've been so quiet lately." She wanted to tell him, but what could he do? Was gentle. He was kind. He fixed machines and made origami birds. What could he do against a commander with a crew of soldiers? "It's nothing," she said. "I'm just tired." He looked at her for a long moment. Something moved behind his eyes, but then it was gone. He smiled and kissed her cheek. "Okay, but you know you can tell me anything, right? Anything at all." "I know." But she did not tell him. The breaking point came at a station gathering. The governor had organized a celebration for the arrival of a new medical ship. Everyone was there, all the species of harmonies cradled together in the main hall. Was across the room, talking to a group of mechanics. Lyra stood near the window, watching the stars. She did not see approach until he was right beside her. "Alone at last," he said. She tried to move away, but he blocked her path. His 4 arms created a wall around her without quite touching her. "I have been patient," said. "I have sent gifts, I have been polite, but my patience is ending, little light. Please leave me alone." "Leave you alone?" He laughed, a terrible sound. "With that human, he cannot give you what you deserve, he cannot protect you, he is nothing." One of his hands reached out and ran a single claw along her arm. In culture, this meant ownership, a claim. Lyra's skin went dark with fear. From across the room saw. For just a moment, something changed in his face. His eyes went flat and cold. His body became very still, like a machine that had stopped running. Then the moment passed, and he was walking toward them with a gentle smile. "There you are," he said, placing a soft hand on Lyra's shoulder. "I've been looking for you. Should we head home?" His eyes narrowed. We were having a conversation. I'm sure you were. His voice was calm, friendly even, but my wife looks tired, you understand. He guided Lyra away before could respond. His hand on her shoulder was warm and steady, but she could feel something in him, something tight and controlled, like a spring pressed down and waiting. At home made tea. He sat across from her at the kitchen table and asked her to tell him everything. His voice was soft, but there was something underneath it now, something she had never heard before. She told him about the meetings, the comments, the gifts, the way he looked at her. She showed him the bruise on her arm where the claw had pressed too hard. Listened without moving. He did not interrupt. When she finished, he was quiet for a long time. Then he took out a small notebook and began writing. Tell me again, he said. Every detail, every date, every word, he said. What are you? Please, Lyra, it's important. She told him again. He wrote everything down in his careful handwriting. That night, Lyra woke up alone. The bed beside her was empty and cold. She found sitting in the dark living room, staring at his hands. He did not move when she entered. He did not seem to know she was there. He looked up. For a moment, his eyes were those of a stranger. Then he blinked, and her gentle husband returned. Sorry, he said. I couldn't sleep just thinking. About what? He smiled, but the smile did not reach his eyes. Nothing important, come back to bed. She took his hand and led him back to their room. But as she fell asleep, she noticed something. His body was completely relaxed. His breathing was slow and even, but his eyes stayed open in the dark, staring at the ceiling. Something had woken up inside Cole. Something old, something patient. Something that had been sleeping for a very long time, began to move with purpose. Lyra watched him over the next few days, and she saw a different man. He still smiled. He still cooked her dinner and tended his plants. He still spoke softly and moved gently. But underneath, something had changed. He had a focus now, sharp and clear like a blade hidden under silk. He visited station security on the first day. He was polite and patient like always. He sat in the waiting room for 2 hours without complaint. When they finally saw him, he handed them a folder of documents. 17 formal complaints, each one detailed and dated. Every encounter Lyra had with, every gift, every word. The security officer, attired with scars on his scales, looked through the papers and sighed. I understand your concern, Mr. Cole, but they have not broken any laws. Speaking to someone is not a crime. Sending gifts is not a crime. And following her, asked, and touching her without permission and threatening her. Do you have witnesses, recording? No. Then there is nothing we can do. The officer handed back the folder. I'm sorry, truly, but my hands are tied. Took the folder and nodded. I understand, thank you for your time. He left the security office and went to his shop. But he did not start working. Instead, he sat at his desk and made a list of names. Other merchants who had dealt with the other species who had complained about his crew, anyone who might have information. He visited each one. He asked questions in his soft voice. He listened carefully. He wrote everything in his notebook. In the evenings, he sent messages to old contacts, people he had not spoken to in years. Lyra saw him typing late at night, his face lit by the screen's glow. When she asked who he was writing to, he smiled and said, old friends. She did not ask more questions. Part of her was afraid of the answers. On the 5th day, the escalated. Lyra was walking through a maintenance corridor, a shortcut she sometimes used to reach shop. The hallway was narrow and poorly lit. She was thinking about what to make for dinner when 2 shapes stepped out of the shadows. Soldiers, their gray skin seemed to absorb the weak light. Their needle teeth showed in cruel smiles. The commander sends a message, the first one said. Lyra tried to run, but the second one grabbed her arm. His grip was like iron. She felt bones creak under the pressure. His patience has ended, the soldier continued. You will come with us now, willingly, or you will come with us later after we have finished with your human. Please, Lyra whispered. Her skin had gone completely dark. Please let me go. Last chance, little light. Accept the commander's protection or watch your husband die. They held her there for a long moment, letting the threat sink in. Then they released her and walked away, laughing. Lyra ran home. She could not stop shaking. Her arm throbbed where the soldier had grabbed her. When she looked down, she saw that her glowing skin had bruised purple and black. The pattern of fingers was clear. Was not home yet. She sat on the couch and tried to calm down. She would not tell him. She could not. If he tried to fight them, they would kill him. He was just a repair shop owner. He was gentle and kind. He had no chance against soldiers. The door opened, walked in carrying vegetables for dinner. He was humming softly like always. Then he saw her face and the humming stopped. Lyra, it's nothing, I just... He crossed the room in 3 quick steps. He knelt in front of her and took her hands. His eyes moved over her face, reading her fear like words on a page. Then his gaze dropped to her arm. He went still. It was the kind of stillness that predators have before they strike. Lyra had seen videos of earth animals hunting, lions in tall grass, wolves at the edge of a forest. They had this same stillness, this same terrible patience. Lyra, his voice was soft, so soft. I need you to tell me exactly what happened, every detail. Please, it's okay, I'm okay. Tell me. There was no anger in his voice, no shouting, no threats, just that soft, patient tone. Somehow that was more frightening than any rage. She told him, the corridor, the soldiers, the message, the threat against his life. Listened without moving. When she finished, he reached out and gently touched the bruise on her arm. His fingers traced the marks where the soldier had grabbed her. Did they hurt you anywhere else? No. You're sure? Yes. He nodded slowly. Then he stood up and kissed her forehead. His lips were warm, but his eyes were cold. I need to run an errand, he said. I won't be long, lock the door behind me. What are you going to do? He smiled. It was not his usual smile. Nothing you need to worry about, I love you. He left before she could argue. Lyra locked the door and sat in the dark, afraid in a way she had never been afraid before. Not afraid of what her gentle husband might become. That night, station security received an anonymous report about a disturbance in a cargo bay near the docking ring. When they arrived, they found 2 soldiers. The soldiers were alive, but barely. Their weapons had been broken into pieces. Their communication devices were crushed. Several of their bones were fractured. And on the wall, carved deep into the metal, was a message in the language. She has spoken for. This is your only warning. Security investigated for 3 days. They checked every camera, every access log, every witness. They found nothing, no evidence, no suspects. During those 3 days, Cole was home every evening cooking dinner for his wife. He made pasta. He tended his plants. He read his paper books and hummed soft songs. When Lyra asked about his errand, he said he had visited a friend to borrow a tool. She did not believe him, but she also did not ask any more questions. The wolves had received their warning. Now they would have to choose, leave or face something far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. A human protecting what he loved. Commander stood in his ship and screamed. His soldiers, the 2 who had delivered the message to the female, lay in medical beds with broken bones and shattered pride. The message on the cargo bay wall had been photographed by a dozen species before security could remove it. The entire station was talking about it. A human had done this, a single human, a repair shop owner who made paper birds for children. Had commanded fleets. He had conquered planets. He had broken species far stronger than humans, and now he was being laughed at because of one soft, pathetic creature. Find him, he ordered his remaining soldiers. Find the human and kill him. Bring me the alive. I no longer care about being quiet. I want them both by morning. His soldiers nodded and disappeared into the station. They did not know they were walking into a trap. Had expected this. He knew how predators thought. When you hurt their pride, they became angry. When they became angry, they became stupid. He had spent the last 3 days preparing. He had mapped every maintenance tunnel on the station. He had identified every security camera and every blind spot. He had found the perfect location for what needed to happen. Now he sat in his shop waiting. He had sent Lyra to stay with a family he trusted, telling her he needed to work late. She had not wanted to go. She had looked at him with worried eyes and asked him to be careful. Always, he had said. It was not entirely a lie. They came at midnight, 7 soldiers armed with pulse rifles and shock blades. They moved through the station's corridors in hunting formation, checking each room, each shadow. They were professionals. They had killed hundreds of beings across a dozen worlds. They thought they were hunting a civilian. Watched them on a small screen in his shop. He had placed cameras of his own throughout the station, tiny devices no bigger than a fingernail. He saw the soldiers split up. He saw their leader gesture toward the maintenance tunnels. He smiled. It was not a nice smile. Then he stood up, stretched his shoulders, and walked into the darkness. The first soldier died before he knew he was in danger. Not died, did not kill. He had promised himself long ago that he would never kill again unless there was no other choice. But there were many things between life and death, and knew all of them. The soldier went down with a choked cry. His rifle fell from his hands. His body hit the floor with a thump. The second soldier heard the noise and turned. He saw nothing. Then something grabbed him from behind and the world went black. They started to panic. They called for each other on their communication devices, but one by one, the voices went silent. The tunnels were dark and narrow. Their leader ordered them to group together to watch each other's backs. It did not help. Moved through the shadows like smoke. He was not young anymore, and his body ached in ways it had not ached in years, but his training was still there, buried deep in his muscles and bones. The Terran colonial Marines had taught him well. They had taught him how to fight in darkness, how to use fear as a weapon, how to take apart a squad of soldiers piece by piece. He had tried to forget those lessons. He had tried to become someone else. A gentle man, a kind man, a man who made paper birds and grew flowers. But you cannot forget what you are. You can only choose when to let it out. The last 4 soldiers made their stand in a junction where 3 tunnels met. They stood back to back, rifles raised, eyes wide with fear. They were warriors who had never known true fear before this night. Now they knew. "Show yourself," their leader screamed. "Face us, coward." Stepped out of the shadows. He was bleeding from a cut on his forehead. One of the soldiers had gotten lucky with a shock blade. His shirt was torn. His hands were bruised and bloody. He did not seem to notice any of it. "You touched my wife," he said. His voice was calm, quiet, almost gentle. "You put your hands on her, you threatened her, you made her afraid." The leader snarled. "You are 1 human, we are 4, you cannot." Moved. The fight lasted 11 seconds. Later, when security reviewed the camera footage they found, they would watch those 11 seconds over and over. They would slow it down and study every movement. They would not believe what they were seeing. 1 human against 4 armed soldiers. It should have been impossible. But humans, the galaxy had forgotten, were not soft. They were persistent predators who had evolved to chase prey across entire continents. They had bones denser than most species. They had pain responses that could be ignored through sheer will. They had adrenaline that turned them into something more than mortal for short, violent bursts. And when they loved something, they became something far worse. When it was over, stood in the center of 7 groaning bodies. His chest heaved. Blood dripped from his hands, his own and theirs. His eyes were cold and ancient, the eyes of a predator protecting its mate. He heard footsteps behind him. He turned. Lyra stood at the end of the corridor. Her skin was glowing bright blue with fear and shock. She had not stayed with the family. She had come looking for him. She had seen everything. Felt his heart break. He had never wanted her to see this. He had never wanted her to know what he really was. He had spent years building a gentle life, becoming a gentle person, trying to bury the soldier so deep he would never wake up. Now she knew, now she would fear him, now she would leave. "Lyra," his voice cracked. "I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I didn't want, I never meant." He could not finish. The cold in his eyes melted away, and he was just a man who loved his wife and had done terrible things to protect her. He waited for her to run. She did run, but not away from him. She ran toward him. Her arms wrapped around his bloody, broken body. She held him so tight he could barely breathe. He felt her tears on his neck and her light washing over his skin. "You stupid, beautiful, terrifying creature," she whispered. "Did you think I would leave? Did you think I would stop loving you?" The soldier crumbled, and the gentle man returned, and he wept in her arms like a child. He apologized over and over, for the violence, for the secrets, for being something other than what she thought she had married. Lyra held him. "I married all of you," she said. "The man who makes paper birds, the man who talks to flowers, and this man too, the one who would fight 7 soldiers to keep me safe." She pulled back and looked into his eyes. "You are exactly what my mother warned me about," she said, "and I have never loved you more." They stood there in the darkness, holding each other, surrounded by the broken bodies of their enemies. It was not a beautiful moment. It was not gentle. But it was honest, and for both of them, that was enough. Commander received the news in his quarters. 7 soldiers sent to kill 1 human. 7 soldiers defeated in minutes. His entire ground team broken and bleeding in station security holding cells. His hands shook as he read the report, not with fear, with rage. He was finished with games, finished with patience, finished with this station and everyone on it. He walked to his bridge and gave an order that would change everything. Power up the weapons, target the station sector where the human lives. If I cannot have the, no one will. His officers hesitated. Commander, there are thousands of beings in that sector. The Galactic Conquered will. The Conquered is weak. They will do nothing. Now follow my orders. The fleet began to move. 3 warships, each one capable of destroying half the station with a single shot. They turned their weapons toward Harmony's cradle, toward the homes of innocent families, toward and Lyra and everyone they knew. But had made a mistake. He had forgotten that the human had spent 3 days sending messages. He had forgotten about old friends. Had served in the Terran Colonial Marines for 15 years before he retired. He had fought in the border wars against pirates and slavers. He had served under commanders who never forgot their soldiers, and besides soldiers who never forgot each other. When those old friends received his messages, they did not hesitate. Calls were made, reports were filed, evidence was gathered. The 17 complaints had given to station security were and sent to the Galactic Conquered. The testimony of merchants who had suffered under trade practices was collected. The footage of soldiers attacking a human citizen and his spouse was transmitted to the Terran government. And the Terran Navy, which protected all human citizens across the galaxy, began to move. On the station, alarms started to sound. Lyra and were in their quarters, treating his wounds, when the emergency broadcast began. Ships were powering weapons. Evacuation was recommended for all residents in sectors 7 through 12. Their sector was Sector 9. "We need to go," Lyra said. "We need to." Wait, he was looking at his communication screen. A message had arrived. His face changed as he read it. "What is it?" He looked at her, and for the first time in days he smiled. A real smile, his old smile. "Help is coming." Through the station's windows, they watched the fleet move into attack position. The warships were huge against the stars, their weapons glowing red with gathered energy. On the bridge of the lead ship was counting down to the moment of destruction. Then space itself seemed to break open. A Terran battlecruiser dropped out of hyperspace directly between the station and the fleet. It was called the Indomitable, and it was 3 times the size of its largest ship. Its hull was covered with weapons that made the guns look like toys. Stared at the one ship, they sent 1 ship. He laughed, it was a mistake. 12 more Terran ships appeared, then 30, then 50. An entire battle group, the largest gathering of human military power in this sector in 20 years. They surrounded the fleet like wolves surrounding prey. A transmission came through to all channels. The voice was calm and professional. "Vessels, this is Admiral Sarah of the Terran Naval Patrol. Your attack on Harmony's cradle has been classified as an act of war against a Terran citizen and their registered spouse. You will power down your weapons and surrender immediately. This is not a negotiation." Screamed at his officers to fight, to show these humans what warriors could do. His officers looked at the 50 warships surrounding them. They looked at the Indomitable with its weapons locked onto their bridge. They looked at each other. Then they powered down their weapons. Tried to grab a rifle and fire at his own crew. He was knocked unconscious by his second in command, who then formally surrendered the fleet to Admiral. Humans, the galaxy remembered that day, do not fight fair. They do not fight with honor or pride or tradition. They fight to win. And when one of their own is threatened, they come with everything they have. On the station, people watched the fleet surrender through every screen and window. Cheers echoed through the corridors. Families who had been preparing to evacuate embraced each other with relief. In their small quarters in Sector 9, and Lyra held hands and watched the Terran ships take position around the station. The soldiers he had served with, the government that had never forgotten him. "You called them," Lyra said. "Your old friends, they were soldiers." "Yes." You were a soldier. Yes, for a long time I saw too much death. I did too many things that haunted me. When I retired, I wanted to become someone different, someone gentle, someone who built things instead of destroying them. He looked at her, his eyes full of old pain. I wanted to deserve someone like you. Lyra squeezed his hand. You always deserved me, both parts of you, the builder and the protector. I just did not know both parts until now. 3 weeks later, the station had returned to normal. The delegation had been removed. Commander was in a galactic conquered prison, awaiting trial for dozens of crimes. New security measures had been put in place. And Cole had returned to his repair shop. Lyra watched him from the doorway, just like she had on that first day they met. He was kneeling on the floor again, surrounded by younglings. Different children this time, not just and human and others. They all watched with wide eyes as he folded paper. You have to be gentle, he said. See, like this, soft hands, patient movements. The paper became a flower. The children clapped and laughed. One of the younglings looked up at Lyra. Is it true that your husband fought 7 soldiers by himself? Glanced at Lyra. His eyes were gentle again, the eyes of the man she had married. But she knew now what lay beneath. Yes, she said, it is true. The youngling looked at with new wonder. Why? Smiled and handed the child a piece of paper. Because some things are worth protecting. Now let me show you how to make a crane. That night, Lyra called her mother. The older's face appeared on the screen, worried and pale. Lyra, we saw the news. Are you safe? Is the human. His name is Mother. Is he what the reports say? A trained soldier, a weapon? Lyra looked across the room. Her husband was in his garden, gently watering his plants. He was humming a soft song. Dirt was smudged on his nose where he had rubbed his face with dirty hands. He looked ridiculous. He looked perfect. He is exactly what you warned me about, Lyra said. He is a predator, a warrior, a creature that evolved to hunt and to fight and to protect what it loves with terrible fury. Her mother's skin flickered with fear. Then you must leave, you must come home. Lyra, please. Mother, Lyra smiled. I am home, and I have never felt safer in my life. She ended the call. Across the room, looked up from his plants. His eyes met hers, and his face lit up with that familiar warmth. Everything okay? Lyra walked over and kissed him softly. Everything is perfect. They stood together in their small home, surrounded by growing things and starlight. A gentle man and the woman who loved every part of him. Outside, the universe continued to turn. There would be other dangers, other challenges, other moments when the soldier would need to wake. But for now, there was only this, peace and love, and the quiet knowledge that kindness and strength could live in the same heart. Some things were worth protecting, and Cole would always protect his.